Our reading this morning is from the Gospel according to Luke, chapter 12, verses 13 to 21. Someone in the crowd said to him, "Teacher, tell my brother to divide the family inheritance with me." But he said to him, "Friend, who sent me to be a judge or arbitrator over you?" And he said to them, "Take care, be on your guard against all kinds of greed, for one's life does not consist in the abundance of possessions." Then he told them a parable. The land of a rich man produced abundantly, and he thought to himself, "What should I do? For I have no place to store my crops." Then he said, "I will do this. I will pull down my barns and build larger ones, and there I will store all my grain and my goods. And I will say to my soul, 'Soul, you have ample goods laid up for many years. Relax, eat, drink, be merry.' But God said to him, 'You fool, this very night your life is being demanded of you, and the things you have prepared, whose will they be?' So it is with those who store up treasures for themselves, but are not rich toward God."
Our next reading for today comes from the book of Hosea. Hosea was an 8th century prophet who was in Israel, which was the northern kingdom, after the two sections of Israel had split into Judah, where Jerusalem was, and then the northern kingdom, where the various other tribes had settled. And he's preaching in a time before the Assyrians have come and invaded Israel and taken up all of the people in exile, but it is clear that that is the direction where things are moving. Listen now to the book of Hosea, chapter 11, verses 1 through 11. "When Israel was a child, I loved him, and out of Egypt I called my son. The more I called them, the more they went from me. They kept sacrificing to the Baals and offering incense to idols. Yet it was I who taught Ephraim to walk. I took them up in my arms, but they did not know that I healed them. I led them with cords of human kindness, with bands of love. I was to them like those who lift infants to their cheeks. I bent down to them and fed them. They shall return to the land of Egypt, and Assyria shall be their king, because they have refused to return to me. The sword rages in their cities and consumes their oracle priests and devours because of their schemes. My people are bent on turning away from me. To the Most High they call, but he does not raise them up at all. How can I give you up, O Ephraim? How can I hand you over, O Israel? How can I make you like Admah? How can I treat you like Zeboim? My heart recoils within me. My compassion grows warm and tender. I will not execute my fierce anger. I will not again destroy Ephraim, for I am God and no mortal, the Holy One in your midst, and I will not come in wrath. They shall go after the lion. They shall go after the Lord, who roars like a lion. When he roars, his children shall come trembling from the west. They shall come trembling like birds from Egypt, and like doves from the land of Assyria. And I will return them to their homes, says the Lord. This is the word of the Lord. The book of Hosea is a hard pill to swallow. Hosea was an 8th century prophet in the northern kingdom of Israel, and he lived during an unrighteous time when the nation had given itself over to idols, when people had forgotten their neighbors and trust in statues that they had made instead of the living God. They ignored the cries of the poor. They forgot the God of their ancestors, the God of Abraham and Isaac and Jacob. And God, through Isaiah, has a harsh word for them. This is not one of those happy, fun prophets. Like, oh wait, no, I'm not really that happy. Hosea uses intense and sometimes very difficult imagery. And in particular, Hosea uses the image of Israel as an unfaithful wife who will experience the wrath of God, who is, in this metaphor, her husband. And this invites comparison to patterns of abuse common then and still common today. And it's worth remembering that this was a metaphor. It was written in the language and the understanding of the people of the time. Domestic abuse is never right or righteous. Nobody deserves it. And it is not God's will for you to be abused. The other image that is strong in the book of Hosea is the image of God as a loving parent. In Hosea, we hear the image of God as a mother, the image of God as a father. But still, it is not, it's pretty harsh. It's not like a nice thing. In the first chapter of Hosea, God tells Hosea, go and take a wife out of whoredom because Israel has been whoring itself out to other gods. That's not that nice. And then when they have children, God gives Hosea the names. The first name that God gives is Jezreel, which means God sows. For I am sowing something that will bring destruction to you. The second name that God gives to Hosea is Lo Ruhamah. Hang on, let me make that. Lo Ruhamah, or not pitied. For I will not have pity on the house of Israel any longer. And the last child of Hosea is Lo Ami, not my people. Because you are not my people, and I am not your God. That is a harsh word from Hosea. Whether this is a metaphor or actually the name of Hosea's children is anybody's guess. But what is clear is what God is saying. You have forsaken me, so I will forsake you. If you will not be my people by trusting in me, by obeying my words, by being a nation of justice and righteousness, for your God is a God of justice and righteousness. If you will not be my people, then I will not be your God. If you forget me, then I will forget you. At this point in the book, Hosea has been hammering away like this for 10 chapters. They have sown the wind and they have reaped a whirlwind. They have plowed wickedness and they have reaped injustice. They have trusted in the power of arms, and so they will be destroyed by war. They go to Assyria and to Egypt, to idols of their own making, but never to the God who delivered them. But now, in chapter 11, something different is brewing. Something is changing. Something that is different from the chapters before. God is starting to remember. God is remembering how it was when they were just a baby. When the nation of Israel was just Abraham and Sarah and their family. God is remembering those sleepless, intimate nights when God fed them and then burped them and they fell asleep on God's shoulder. I was to them like those who lift infants to their cheeks. I bent down and fed them. God is starting to remember those first hesitant steps, those toddles that turn into runs, the first words they spoke. Yet it was I who taught Ephraim to walk. I took them up in my arms, but they did not know that I healed them. God is remembering that fledgling nation of slaves that God called out of Egypt, and all the time that they spent together in the desert when they had no one but each other. When I was a child, I loved them, and out of Egypt I called my son. You can decide if these actions seem fatherly or motherly to you. And the historians can decide if these actions were fatherly or motherly to ancient Egypt. But what is clear is that God is like a good parent's love, steadfast and faithful. God remembers. God remembers walking with Israel from the very beginning. God remembers all of those times when Israel fell and God picked them up and dusted them off and kissed the boo-boo so that it would go away. And God says to Israel, I can't give you up. I can't do this. Even now when you have betrayed me and thrown me away and ignored me, I will never give up on you. Even now when you were careless and you dropped the eggs, even now when you put lemmings in my boots, even now when you turned into a polar bear and chased me into a tent, I cannot. I'm Presbyterian, I hate saying I cannot when it comes to God. God will not give up on you. Even though they worship the Assyrian gods, even though they worship the Egyptian gods, even though they worship the God of anybody stronger than them, the God of strength, the God of national power and might, God will never give up on them. Even though they filled themselves with the wine of the world and rejected righteousness in favor of corruption, God will not give up on them. Even though they hoard their money while people starve all around them, God will not give up on them. Even though they stay silent while the innocent are punished and thrown in prison, God will not give up on them. Y'all know why we read this book, right? Y'all know it's not just about Israel back then and Assyria and Egypt. It's about Israel right now. It's about you, and it's about me. God will never give up on you. Even if somebody was driving slow in the left lane on 295, and you said words that should never come out of your mouth, God will not give up on you. Even if you take credit for work that you didn't do, even if you find ways to dump extra work on your co-workers when they're not paying attention, God will not give up on you. Even if you cross the other side of the street so you don't have to look somebody in the eye who wants money, God will not give up on you. Even if you have given up on God because the pain that you feel is so near and God feels so far, God will never give up on you. Even if you wish that you had never been born, or you wish that your child had never been born, or you wish that somebody else would hurt like you do, God will never give up on you. Even if you've worshipped at the altars of Wall Street, or war, or pornography, or corruption, or white supremacy, God will not give up on you. Even if you see the war and the poverty and the racism, the injustice that dominates our country, and you have never done anything beyond a Facebook post, God will not give up on you. Even if you have lied, even if you have cheated, even if you have stolen, even if you have gossiped, murdered, failed, disregarded, disrespected, committed idolatry, committed anything, God will not give up on you. Because this is who God is. Hear what God has to say. How can I give you up, O Ephraim? How can I hand you over? My heart recoils within me. My compassion grows warm and tender. For I am God and no mortal, the Holy One in your midst, and I will not come in wrath. God is no mortal. God is not bound by the cycle of revenge and hurt that so often we perpetuate in our own lives. No, God is different. God is holiness. God is holy. And the defining characteristic of that holiness, the thing that makes God God and no mortal, is the choice not to perpetuate a cycle of cruelty and revenge, but to break that cycle with mercy. When we pray, hallowed be thy name, when we pray to God, make your name holy, this is what we are talking about. The mercy of God, the grace of God, that breaks the cycles of sin and selfishness and hurt and hatred that so often we trap ourselves in. This is what grace is. This is what we're talking about when we say God's steadfast love endures forever. We are saying God will never give up on us. God will never give up on you. There is no limit on the love of God, because God will never give up on you. This is a love that is bigger than we can understand. This is a love that we are never going to deserve. It doesn't matter how perfect we try to be or how perfect we think we are. This is a love that we simply cannot earn, because there is not enough perfection in humanity. It is a grain of sand against the beach of God's love. What can we do? What can we do in the face of a love like that? They shall go after the Lord who roars like a lion, Hosea says. When he roars, he comes trembling from the west. They shall come trembling like the birds of Egypt, like doves from the land of Assyria, and I will return them to their homes, says the Lord. Can you hear the roar of the lion? Can you hear the roar of God? Do you know what it sounds like? Softly and tenderly Jesus is calling, calling for you and for me. See on the portals he's waiting and watching, watching for you and for me. Come home, come home. You who are weary, come home. Help me, please. Softly and tenderly Jesus is calling, calling, oh sinner, come home. What can we do in the face of this love? What can we do in the face of God's holiness? God's love that will never give us up? We can only come trembling from the east and from the west, from whatever Assyrias and Egypts we have given ourselves over to. We can only come trembling and come home into the arms of